to this edition, our first edition of the Island Stat Sports Show for 2023. I'm your host, Earl Basic. Joining me is co-host Jason Juggling J. Ford. Happy New Year, Jason. Our first show for 2023. We're going to look back at 2022. What stands out in your mind of an event or of anything sports related in 2022?
The return of people. Any event, any sport, if you ask any sport, it was the return of the crowd.
Yeah.
And you saw it trickle from the start to where it is now. And even the last weekend with the football game up at Somerset, to see the crowds that are up there, we couldn't imagine that 364 days ago. We did not see that, right? So to see that back and to see people enjoying, obviously, Cup match for us was probably the crescendo at Eastern County, realistically, because you saw those crowds. Hadn't seen those crowds, I mean, even before COVID.
Right.
Especially with the Eastern County. Hadn't seen those type of crowds before COVID. So Cup match was, but just the people enjoying and to see what difference it made with a lot of the athletes.
Yeah.
Difference with the athletes. I mean, it's amazing, 2022, 2021, a lot of sports were played, with no crowds and no fans and indoors and the sports went on, but to see that element. I mean, okay, I'll give you a prime example there, Earl Basin, when you did went to the Olympics with very strict.
Yes.
Compared to what we saw at the World Cup.
True. Yeah.
And we saw
night and day.
And we saw with the penalty shootouts in a lot of the games, the crowd made a big difference.
Compared to when the EPL resumed without crowds, and you could hear every word, every kick of the ball to then go to the World Cup, and you could just about hear a kick of the ball. All you heard was screaming and hollering from fans, and that's the atmosphere I think that you're referring to. Return of the fans, and I think every athlete appreciates that because of the fact that now they have people watching, they have people interested, not just their opponent, but now that fan, and I think that's where I think you're alluding to the return.
Ask most athletes the goosebumps when they hear crowds like that. They get. And I don't care if you got nerves of steel, I don't know, blood as cold as you're human, right?
Yeah.
Those emotions, and to see those emotions, and then you get to especially winning, you get to be around your family. Remember, it was hard for even our great Florida Duffy couldn't really celebrate for the family at the Olympics.
Yeah. It was a makeshift celebration. Yeah.
On probably the biggest achievement she might ever.
Yes.
Not be able to share it with family.
Right.
You want all your family to be there.
Well, one thing for sure, all of Bermuda was watching.
Most definitely was all watching. And I think in the flip side of that, Earl, I think that's been also something that's really taken off is people watching multiple sports via streaming now by streaming services, right? We've seen streaming. Look what we're doing now, right? We're seeing so many people now get their information from the online stream, where before we was probably getting it from print or sports shows, right? So yeah. I mean, what was for you though? You tell me. I mean, for a man who's sports 366 days, what was it for you though?
The one thing that stood out for me, and we're going to get to it in this show, I was really, really pleased and happy for Janai Parenthood getting his bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games, only because following his journey in high jump, picked up an injury, had to kind of get away from the high jump, which I thought he had a big chance of doing great things in that. But then moving to triple jump, going through the struggles of learning that. I mean, he played around with it, but then to take it as serious as he did and to get to the Commonwealth Games and win a bronze medal, I think that for me was the highlight of the year. Knowing what he's been through. I mean, a lot of people would say the highlight would be clearly Flora, but for me, seeing the struggles, seeing everything, and be determined as a young man, I think that's been the standout for me in 2022.
I mean, you can't deny because you just mentioned I mean, we both talk about it quite often, especially on this show. It's the journey, right? What you know,
Mm,
and how much you appreciate, the good times when you've had so many bad times, or
yeah,
the
yeah,
struggle, right? And you get to appreciate it. And when you know somebody, see, talent only gets you so far, right? Without hard work, talent amounts to nothing, right?
right.
So somebody, especially when it comes to the mental side of it, picking up an
Hmm.
injury. Number one, can I get back to where I was?
Yeah, yeah.
Number two, have I fallen off too far?
Hmm.
Number
Hmm.
three, can I even go to international now? All these
Right.
things are in your mind throughout you recuperating,
That's right. That's right.
right? And
Right.
I don't care how many people are telling motivational things on a daily basis, but that's just reality, right?
Yeah.
Because some days, obviously, to push yourself, you're going to have to feel pain,
Hmm.
right? I don't care
Yeah.
what it is. When you push yourself, when you push your muscles to a certain point, they're going to start to tell you that, hey, I'm at that point.
I've had enough. But do you have the enough in you to go through that wall?
They will tell
That's the
you
difference.
that's when most of the time the muscle gets to grow because it
Yeah.
has to burn, it has to it break and remand and heal parts. So these are the things that, like I said, I cannot disagree with not one bit because uh, I would never say this person's journey was harder than the other person's journey because you just don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
You don't know. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, Jay, let's get to it. Let's talk about 2022, and of course, we're going to start off with none other than Flora Duffy winning that Commonwealth Games gold medal. She was the defending champion in the individual sprint distance triathlon. She actually won the first gold medal of the competition. So at one point in time, Bermuda was on top of the medal standings.
That was
She, she clocked a time of 55:25, beating out England's Georgia Taylor Brown, who clocked 56:06, and Scotland's Beth Potter, who clocked 56:46. Um, that kind of set up Bermuda and her. I mean, she's been on a tear, and to come back and defend the title she won in Australia 4 years prior, I think that was her goal, and that's what she set herself out to do. And we talk about determination. We talk about pushing your body. She's had a journey as well over the last few years of injuries and so forth. But to come out on top, the Commonwealth Games, I think that set her up for later on in the year. That confidence booster.
most definitely. And I mean, we're talking about not only injuries, but also having COVID, right?
Yeah,
And that she had to
not
suffer.
once, not twice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's amazing what she's done. But Earl, I tell you what's probably really, really, really got me so excited about Flora. When we were covering Flora Mercy for a minute.
Mm,
And I just remember going back, and I think we was probably at their house, maybe at Charles, when we was talking about the Xterra series,
yes,
right?
that was a coming out moment.
Right? Because
Yeah.
she was struggling, and then that go to this series and the mountain bike and see what she could do and broke through, right?
Hmm.
But Earl, to listen to international media are doubting, putting her name in the hat of one of the best of all time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not just a great athlete,
Right.
not just a good triathlete, not just in this period on a good streak, as you say,
Mhm.
all time.
Yeah.
They're trying to find other female triathletes to compare with.
They keep looking. They ain't gonna find.
And Earl, I'm listening to it, and I'm just like, I'm learning as we go, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, it sounds like you're running out of names. He's not supposed to be in this conversation. But like you said, over the last 4 to 5 years, her consistency,
Mhm.
and you've seen some good triathletes come and some good triathletes go during
Yeah.
this period. And
Yeah.
I to be honest, this last one, I thought it was probably, I'll have to ask her, but if it felt like it was probably the most challenging because of the start of the season.
Yeah.
Yes, she had.
Yeah.
And if you watched a lot of the international media, they wasn't focused on her in the last 2 races at all.
No. Not at all.
At
Not
all.
at all. Yeah.
When she came, what was it, 5th in the second last or the third last?
Yeah. That was that Ironman she ran. She done.
Basically, here comes Laura Duffy. That was it.
Yeah.
And once again,
she took her body to a different level.
But after this, you hear her being put in these type of conversations, right? It's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the information here to tell you, but to hear that from Bermuda, that you're not only just a world athlete, a world champion, you could be doubted as the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've seen an athlete in our era who's reached those heights.
Especially from this island.
Well, in a particular sport from this island.
Yeah. She's actually transformed the sport for the island, encouraging other people to get into the sport as they've seen. And I mean, if you go back, probably 2006, she was going through whether or not after the 2008 Olympics, whether or not she wanted to stay with triathlon. She started cycling. She got out of the sport, fell in love with it again, and down the road, all that hard work that she had done before came back, and the hard work she put in, mental coaching, the physical training, the understanding of what it takes to be a champion. She actually went through that and pushed herself through that wall. And once she went through that wall, she's realized, hey, the sky's the limit. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we'll take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we'll get back into a look back at 2022 sports in Bermuda. We'll be right back.
Putting down a weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, Jay, also at the Commonwealth Games, we spoke about him. Janai Parentief got his Commonwealth Games off to a flying start with a leap of 16.92 meters, which earned him the bronze medal and Bermuda's second medal of the Games. Parentief had 5 attempts over the 16-meter mark, something remarkable for him, and the fact that he was able to capture that bronze medal only, catapulted his confidence for the rest of the year and going forward. Now he's itching to really, get going again this season to see what he can do in the lead up to next year's Olympics.
Yeah, you spoke about it. You said almost everything you need to say about Janai. It just comes down to hard work, right? And belief, and he's been through it, and all you could do is hey, well done, keep going. It's not the end, and hopefully he can even surprise us even more.
Sure.
I think he has another couple of surprises in his bag because he puts in the work, and that's the main thing. After speaking with many years ago his former high jump coach Rohan Simon, just how hard he works at it, and he said, look, I still speak to him, and they still have these conversations. But it's just when you get, and we've seen that, and we could talk about it on another show. But when you get good coaching, that's raw talent, that's hard work. Sky's the limit.
Yeah. Now I'm going to bring a smile to your face because this.
Yeah.
Somerset retained the Cup Match trophy with a 10-wicket victory over St. George's Cricket Club up at the Somerset Cricket Club in the Cup Match Classic. St. George's in the second innings scored 222, and Somerset would only need 41 runs after a big score in the first inning, and they would do so in winning the Cup Match Classic. We saw the return of fans, year before last, but then last year that return, I think, just added to the atmosphere. You were there, unfortunately, I wasn't. Talk us a bit through that atmosphere of Cup Match.
Well, I'll tell anybody, you can watch it on TV all you want. You can watch it on the stream. You can listen to me on the radio. It's nothing like the first ball at Cup Match. Earl, time I get there in the mornings, like anywhere between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. So I could hear from the tree frogs to this small murmur around the field. And then when the team comes out, it gets louder. You get the horns and the music. And by the time the first ball, it's a party going on, right? And to see that with some of the youngsters who were on display, who all managed pretty well when it came under the pressure of Cup Match, which I was really surprised with. The coach, everybody that was involved this year in Cup Match, to see him come back from something that, once again, very restricted throughout the last year or so when it came to fans. But that atmosphere, man, just to walk by, to get to my camp, to walk by everybody's camping, during COVID, everybody went, stay far, stay over there. Compared to, hey, come in, hey.
Yeah. Come on in.
And remember, we walked around at Eastern Connie.
Eastern County, yes,
Hey,
yes,
hey, I gotta go. Right? I got a job to do, right?
yeah,
But we wasn't getting that, like I said, through the last couple of years. So you could see the smile on everybody's faces. The game itself wasn't much of a surprise for me. I've been telling this for the last few years because
right.
there is a big difference in between the two teams.
Yes.
You can put the player's name out on a piece of paper, but the way they're I believe one's a team with players and another one a team playing as a team.
Right.
And it's I think it's going to take a little while before St. George's actually get that culture back within themselves.
Right.
With the quality, with the quality and the experience that Somerset has, I felt real good for Dion Stovall because, as we know, Dion's probably been one of the premier. I mean, prior to Gennaro retiring and since Gennaro retiring, probably one of the premier players. Period. Football, but especially cricket and cup match is one of the things that sort of always was just getting out of his grasp, right?
Right.
You know what George is going to do. George is going to give you some excitement.
Yes.
You know what? Nice to see OJ back.
Yeah.
That was special. The Connie, his first game in the Connie, getting a half century. I mean, that was everybody was just goosebumps. But when you see those type of things, but also to see, like I said, some of the youngsters, right, coming in and doing what they was doing. So for me, when you're talking about something that is over 100 years old, I think we're in a good space to probably for another 100 years because it's nothing like it. And I hate to say this here. Let's go back about 8 years. There was so much talk about changing the format.
Yeah.
Gang got a victory.
Yeah.
Gang. Let's go 3 days.
Yeah.
Let's get the others. Let's do this.
You don't hear that talk no more.
Something that closed that door, shut that door, because they've been convincing victories.
Right.
The last 6 out of 8 years. So it's interesting going forward because Father Time catches up to everybody. And how does Somerset manage to replace some of these older players? Who
do they make the mistakes St. George's made? And they had a young team that came up together, and eventually most of them went within a 2-year period of each other, leaving them, I wouldn't say depleted, but inexperienced. Especially when the field left 1 or 2 senior players and they managed for a little bit, but now you see that.
And let me say this to the defense of St. George's because, I hear the friends and the family thing all the time. I don't pay much attention to it because I say if, we always talk about if, right? Hindsight's 20/20. But I say this, St. George's lost some people that would have been in this team.
Yes.
Right? The late for Craig Crockle, Landry Miners, they would have been seasoned players in this team. Right? Delray Rollins going off to England.
Yeah.
Seasoned. So when you hear these names, I think it'll be a different story as far as what you see on the field, right?
Right.
That quality that those guys would have brought to this particular team. And Somerset has not had to deal with those type of losses in the last few years, right?
Right.
They've had the luxury for come on to play or not play.
Yeah. Imagine, and I was gonna say when you was talking about it, imagine if Dion would have played as many years he didn't play.
That's why we say when we go if, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's amazing. But when I say the friends of it goes in cycles. It goes in cycles. And
there's only 2 teams that play. So yeah.
Somerset. We remember St. George's had a 20-year cycle.
Right.
Somerset just reached halfway.
Yeah. About the end there.
I'll leave right there.
Thought I'll say that. But then this series, the Eastern County series, and this was the game that everybody waited for. I mean, we know Flax was in the first round, Cleveland was in the second round, but everybody was waiting for this game. Bailey's Bay, the challengers, St. David's, the champions. This one here, Bailey's Bay came out and showed quality, class, distinction, determination. They showed everything they had to do to become the champions, and the hard work that they put in paid off for them on that day.
It's amazing because most of those words you used, they didn't show the previous year.
Right. Yeah.
Where they were probably even more of the favorites.
Yeah.
Right? And took wailing.
Yes.
Ran us a beat down. It was a wailing, right? And to be this year, it was professionally done.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the difference?
Josh Logie brought in that professionalism, brought in that attitude, brought in that no nonsense. Ask them, what do you want to achieve? If you want to achieve this, this is what you have to do. You're not willing to do it, don't come down here.
And a few disciplinary things in Bailey's Bay Club in the beginning of the season paid dividends for Connie Cup.
For Connie Cup, yeah.
Because a few people got disciplined. Everybody had to sit up and pay attention because nobody was safe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Nobody was safe.
That's right.
And I think they've done a great job through COVID of bringing a lot of young, talented players along and not feeling the need to go out and poach guys from other teams.
Yeah.
And if you think of Earl, the names, the 5 or 6 names that you've heard frequently in the last 2 years that you didn't hear prior to that, and these guys are basically under 20 and just over 20.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting going forward now. Be interesting. And think about it. The new they came, you played for County, but you think about it, they had a nucleus of players that left and went to Georgia's.
Yes, yeah.
Veteran.
Yeah. The only one that played Connie was Rodney. Yeah.
So that in itself, right? With it's something to. But once again, the youngsters stepped up, right?
Yeah.
And I expect more of that. Now, St. David's, I expect them to rebound because that's what they do. They're not called the Warriors for nothing, right?
Yeah. They get knocked down, they get right back up, man. Figure it out.
They will have a chip on their shoulder now going into next year because once again, and especially here in Bermuda, the league, the knockout, whatever you want to play,
don't mean nothing.
Connie is everything.
Right.
We could talk about Flats and Cleveland for half a second. I just don't feel they put in the work.
Right.
Earl, you know, as broadcasters, we really have to. We just take note of a lot of things, right? Body language.
Yeah.
And I remember us having conversations in the middle of the pitch as we're going to look at the pitch, and just guys warming up.
You can look at it.
Guys, your team's out there warming up. Some guys are still riding in on the bike.
Yeah.
And we had some hot days.
Sometimes, and you could see it in players' attitudes, they're just happy to be in the team on the day. I played Connie. That's all they're concerned about. Regardless if they got a first bowl duck or not, I played Connie. But if you're selected to play, you wanna at the end of the day be on the winning side.
But Earl, that doesn't start on the day.
No.
I think that's where
it's preseason.
That's where. Well, so let's think about Cleveland, right? Cleveland has been in between coaches here and coaches
Yeah.
here, right? So the stability, even if that stability, and if you looked at their lineup throughout the league season, it was all okay. That Connie game, we had somebody open up who hadn't opened up all season.
Was betting number 11 on regular. I couldn't believe it.
So
Couldn't believe it.
what were you going to expect, right?
I figured nobody else could find the gear. He was there. He put his on first.
Flats, I'm gonna keep saying what I said. Flats have a few guys that are individual good,
Yeah.
but the team is not disciplined enough.
Right.
Team is not disciplined enough. And because they're not fit, when their head goes, so does the game.
Yeah. And they're in it. They are always in it with a chance, but it just like you say, that something, a drop catch, a run out, or something goes wrong, and it seems to implode right after that.
They are too emotional.
Yeah.
Way too emotional.
Yeah.
And that is something that, once again, you can't change overnight.
Right.
And I think if they're able to control their emotions, get into some shape, so when those tough times do come, they could think with a clear mind.
Right.
I think will go well for them, because once again, they introduced some youngsters too this year.
Right.
Some good little youngsters. One of them actually did he go to St. George's? Youngster Logan.
Yeah.
Right. So they have some good youngsters down there, right? Nice little builders in the whole nine.
Yeah.
But
one of the biggest misses in county for a number of years is Paul Carr. He's been their most consistent strike bowler, but through religion, he doesn't play on the Saturday, and that's for them that's a big loss. For him not playing on the Saturday, but it is what it is, and they know that going into the season. They know that going into Connie. Somebody else got to step up.
I was just going to say that just gives room for somebody else to step up, right? So I think once again, it again comes back down to what I hate to say this here, but take a page out of Bailey's Bay. Prior to the season, let's get a coach that be committed to the team, and get the players to be committed to the coach.
Yeah.
Have a good preseason. Okay. Not just come in and starting to play this week. Have a good preseason, and let that preseason and beginning of the season, let that work towards what you're trying to do for county.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's my advice for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take our second commercial break. Let me come back. We'll have more of reviewing Bermuda Sports 2022. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Jay, the Dandytown Hornets were crowned the Premier Division League champions at the end of last season. They were also the FA Challenge Cup champions, defeating PHC 3-2 in an entertaining cup final. Dandytown had some emotion behind them following the loss of one of their teammates. So they had that to go with that the season they were having, which was quite remarkable for them. But that added incentive, I think, pushed them over the line because they were doing it, for Richardson. But congratulations to the Dandytown Hornets. I mean, they did everything they had to do to, one, win the league, and then two, play in the FA Cup.
No, you said it, Earl. I mean, they played with heavy hearts throughout the season, and they never forgot it. And I think when times did get rough, they dug deep, and that was the incentive for them to dig deep. It's amazing what a year can do, but you can see the difference, right? Not to say they don't have the same motivation, but you can see the difference. Another thing that you gotta, I remember, and then especially being at that game, and also being at the awards, the season awards. They also had the best goalkeeper last year.
Yeah. Who this year is away in school.
This is away in school, right? So, we all know, and then they had one of the leading goal scorers too, right? So, that's a good recipe. I hate to tell you this when it comes to the sport of football.
Somebody scoring a lot, somebody stopping a lot. Hey,
that fill any rest, right? Fill any blanks. But I think the continuity they had, and we say it all the time, like winning cures a lot of bad things, right? We saw a coaching staff that looked like there was continuity all through the coaching staff,
right,
all the way down, and interchangeable players, all of them. And we saw if a new season, it just was okay. Is this the same team that was
right?
So it seems that. But then you look at other teams like last year, Devonshire Cougars got off to a slower start, finished pretty strong. PAC was just inconsistent at the wrong time,
right?
Because at one point in time they were looking pretty good, pretty dangerous, but there's a couple of really important games they just fell flat, and it cost them, right? Even cost them in the final.
Yeah.
What I will say, I believe 21-22. We really saw the emergence of young Marco Warren. And I believe
taking over PHC, taking over.
Being not only kept, but also being the MVP, right? He was MVP.
Right.
To see him really, really flourish, not just as a captain, as a leader, but also his game.
Right.
And I listened to the show many times Sunday nights, and I heard the opinions on where everybody thinks he should play. But no, he has the ability to play many places.
Yes.
So whatever, as a captain, whatever the team needs for this particular game, he's able to do that.
Yeah.
And Earl, it's not many players you can say that, right? And I say this here because I see another player, former PAC, I hate to say be biased to PAC, who's actually in the second, the first division, Antoine Russell, who we're seeing play all over the field. I think this has been something, from him probably winning everything he could possibly win to number one, he picked up the referee whistle.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Which many thought that would never happen.
But I tell you what it has done. It has changed his perception of the game. And he's admitted that. Doing that, now he understands. And his approach to the game is different. His approach to the officials is different. And I think that's what's helped him to mature to what he is today, as a footballer, as an assistant coach, as a coach. Just helping him to level himself.
So when you look at things like that on and off the field, our national team, our women, what they've done in 2021, 22, and for so long, not even having an 11-a-side league here on the island, right?
Yeah.
So the emergence of the league again for the women. How exciting was that on Friday nights where we was competing with us across the street?
Right.
But it was crowds Friday nights watching these young ladies perform, right? So us getting to see the international side of it. I mean, it was just great to see. The only thing that I think I really missed in 2021, 22, and I have been told that it was definitely on the books for this year, is Kappa. Kappa will be back at full strength this year. So that is something that, is such an event to see these up and coming players, right? And the enthusiasm. Also, the return to night football at PHC. Devonshire Rec, and Somerset. I think, just those communities alone, you've seen it when you go to the clubs, it feels different. Yeah.
And we do want to acknowledge Devonshire Cougars won the Friendship. They defeated the Dandytown Hornets 3-2, and Wolves won the Shield. They defeated Young Man's Social Club 3-2 as well. So congratulations to those two teams.
And that was a game. That was a game too, right?
Yes. And and you got to remember that at the time, Wolves were full of emotion as well, with the loss of their Jason Lee had passed. And that was his father with Vincent Miners Jr. there, holding the trophy. It does get a bit emotional at times when we, talk about when a team loses someone and, the players then rally.
It would be remiss for us not mentioning the loss down in St. George.
Down in St. George's, we was going to get to that as well. St. George's lost two players.
Influential players.
Yes.
International players.
Yeah. And, they had to fight through a lot of emotion as well. Getting over one, and then here comes the second one, which, kind of put them back. But they were able to finish their season and do what they could do to, keep it together. And if you look at it now, they're really working hard this season to make sure that they're able to get themselves over the line and get something out of it this time around. And they're going to continue on starting this Sunday. So Well, Jay,
give me another sport.
We're gonna go. What's that?
Give me another sport. Let's go. Come on.
We're going to Bermuda Day. Krista Stwanek claimed his 8th title. Isabel Dutronaut claimed her first.
Yes.
And they became the Bermuda Day Half Marathon Derby male and female champions. Stwanek clocked 1:10.14. Dennis M. Belenzi was second in 1:13.29, and Sean Trott was third in 1:14.12. Dutronaut crossed the line 12th. She clocked 1:24.38. Gail Lindsay was the second female finisher and 14th overall in the time of 1:27.15. And Ashley Cooper was the third female finisher and 16th overall in a time of 1:28.11. And Jay, we were 17th and 18th. We're going to do a little better next time this year coming up. So let's get it together.
I've been training.
So that's.
I'm saying, I'm not telling you my training secrets. I'm just saying I've been training.
You've been training. You're almost ready.
I'm almost there. Where's coming east? Coming out east?
Coming out of the east, yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to do it this year. I don't like that one. I don't like that.
That's cool.
That calls me. It's too early in the race. Okay, buddy? That's gonna make me get to the airport and say, you know what, taxi.
Taxi. Turn left. Take your passport with you. Take your.
I'm had enough. No, Earl. No, you said it. It's sometimes we take for granted what we see, you know, and to see what Chris Stewart has done with this race. I mean, you could only go off of the Pearsons and Kevin Smith, you know, for what he's done as far as how many times he's won.
Right.
And it's one thing about winning something, but Earl, I can't remember any of them being close. That's I'm really thinking about it. What was it, seven times now?
8.
I don't remember any of them being close.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like okay, and Chris does it early.
Yeah. Takes control early. This one here was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. This one here.
I'm just like, if you're not with him by mile 4, I'll see you when we shake hands.
If I make it to the line.
Because that's you know, and it's amazing because this year I was not out on the road. Look, we might be back there again. Want to see the happening, right?
Right.
But, you know, when you're out on the, you know, okay, the first round is coming. Everybody gets hyped up. Sponsors make all this noise. Okay, where's the next round?
Still about Front Street.
Okay. I turn up the music. And not to say that, but that's the type of leads he has. So to be honest with you, the women's race, and not even so much the women's race, but the Cyril Packwood race has been more exciting.
Sinclair Packwood, yeah.
That's been the most exciting race.
Yeah, because that's a sprint. That is an all-out, what they call balls to the wall, head done from Somerset or even from St. George straight. You know, that's a fast race. I
can't even say whoever takes the last corner first, because we've seen many times.
Yeah,
it comes down to a sprint.
Yeah. Well, another big event that took place. Dame Flora Duffy not only put on a show in Bermuda, but she set herself up to win the world title for a 4th time. We talked about that already, but it was this performance in Bermuda that would have put her in a position to become that world champion for a 4th time. As you know, like you said, she had a slow start to the season, but came on of late. And this one here, defending that title she had won in Bermuda before, putting on, you know, that dominating show the first time she done it, and then putting on another dominant show this time. I think. What did you think of the performance this time around for Flora Duffy at the World Triathlon Series here in Bermuda?
Earl, I just can't bring myself to even think of the because once again the talent is there. We know world class talent, right? But the mindset, and you know, before this series came to Bermuda, we knew she was very instrumental of getting the series to Bermuda. So the expectation not only for her fans, but for her to actually do good. Not win, do good. Now, as fans, we want you win. It ain't like, you know, we're buying our flags and we're coming down. You know, whatever. We just want to see. We want to see you win, and to take it all in stride. And it felt like it was like a Sunday afternoon ride, because once again it was dominant, right? And you know, to see those other previous races where she had some battles. A battle.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if the you know, I didn't see too many of the press conferences from the other participants, rather humidity or whatever. Well, I don't know. Why was she so dominant? And I didn't talk about the adrenaline. I mean, the crowds are unbelievable.
Right.
And it's something that my 6-year-old daughter talks about to this day. Even today.
Right.
And we had those conversations that what does this mean to the young ladies?
Mm-hmm.
I've even seen a triathlete.
Right.
But they know Flora Duffy's name right now.
Right.
So I'll give you a quick. So we have this thing now. She wants to run first thing in the morning. She wants to run like 100 yards before she gets in the car. She gets in the car, half of them, Buffett. Am I like Flora Duffy?
Got to run a couple of 100,000 yards.
I tell you right, you got to do a little bit more than run. You got to swim with a bunch of armbands, and we got to ride the training wheels. So we got a little ways to go, but we're gonna get there.
And then that performance in Bermuda set her up for that world title. And that's where you were talking about earlier about her becoming the talk of her being the greatest of all time in the female triathlon setting, winning that title in Abu Dhabi for a 4th title, where she dominated, the field to claim that.
Ask any team, ask any individual how hard it is to go back to back.
Oh, very difficult.
Because it hardly ever happens, right?
Yeah.
Same person, same talent, same team, same talent.
You can't take it for granted.
It's one thing being the hunter,
Mm-hmm.
then being the hunted.
Yes.
And still come out on top.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to take our final commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion of a review of 2022 Bermuda Sports. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
And welcome back. Okay, Bermuda cyclists returned from the Caribbean Championships with 3 medals. Caden Hopkins won the men's elite and under 23 individual time trials, as well as Caitlin Conyers winning the silver medal in the women's elite time trial. For a number of years, our cyclists have been chomping at the bit in closing the gap on, especially in the Caribbean Championships. And this time around, they were able to come back with these medals, proving that we're getting stronger and stronger in this event and this field.
Yeah, once again, this is one of those events that is hard work. You have to put them in this where you got to put the miles in, right? And then the interviews that we've had over the year, speaking of the cyclists, is how will they be able to manage and cope and to stay in shape during COVID, right? Where they have these simulators and all these different things, and then all the restrictions of getting to events or even going to events, but how they were able to adapt. And I think who's able to adapt the easiest, it proved dividends. Also, our most successful riders are spending a lot of time off island now, right?
Yeah.
And I think once again, we have to, if we were talking about we want to be known around the region, then we have to get out to the region, right? Just can't say we have we have some good riders here. Well, okay, compared to who?
Yeah.
Now we get
where are they being tested? Yeah.
Where are they being tested? And I say that because we see other sports who had a rough time during COVID, but was able to have some athletes off island and do tremendous things. When we look at Madeline Moore, the year she had in the pool, right?
Right.
But the opportunity she was able to do while she was swimming abroad, right?
Yeah.
Our young tennis players, what they done, and I really got to say, because they're probably the most consistent sport in 21-22 competition, right? But what it do to with our Davis Cup team, So these are the things that through COVID they were able to really, really hone in and once again, whoever put the work in, you saw the dividends. It paid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you talk about overseas, but this gentleman didn't go overseas much. But Nicky Bascom had 2 fights in 2022. He won by unanimous decision over Dylan Roxon in January, and then had the same result over Cody Kelly in October. In those fight nights, another fighter in Andre Lamb. Andre Lamb was in the ring 4 times in 2022. He had 3 TKOs and 1 unanimous decision. He recorded TKO victories over Jose Sija in January, Dujan Robinson in March, Dwayne Lawrence in June, and he ended up fighting Sija again in October, and that one was the unanimous decision. But Jay, these 2 fighters have been kind of the highlight of Bermuda's boxing for the last year or two, with others now coming through, such as Adrian Roach and the likes. But these 2, what would you consider their 2022 to be like?
Well, Earl, I'll be first. I want to say we have to put our hats off to Epic Entertainment.
Yes,
because he has been able, with his team, to build a platform to showcase these boxers without leaving the island.
Right.
And it's something that it was very, very, very hard to do prior to Epic putting on these shows, right? Once again, it's a show.
Yeah.
And it's been a spectacular show at that, whether you're talking about the kickboxing being showcased early, where you see the youngsters being showcased early, right up to the headliners, right? And one thing I will say, it's been a very trying year for all those involved, because they went through a lot of trials and tribulations, fighters not making it, travel restrictions, fighters end up with COVID, so last minute changes. So it's so much they went through, right? And to still come out victorious is something that, kudos. But then once again, boxing is just one of those things that you have to continuously to train, right? For that time. And Just think, Earl, you're training for 6 months for this particular fighter. I know all the ins and outs. Then he doesn't make weight or he doesn't make the flight.
Yeah.
And somebody else comes into fight. Now you don't know, okay, all
Yeah.
that you've done for the last 6 months basically goes out the door.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's something that these guys, Andre and Nikki, who's been the headliners, it's been very exciting. And to know what's on the horizon, they got a fight coming up. There's been an announcement that Teresa Parassi looking to make her return back to the ring, which hopefully that might happen within 2023. But just the fact that the excitement of that fight, anticipated fight that might happen, that's gonna make so much, because you gotta think you probably got a generation now who's probably never seen a fight.
Yeah. True. So true.
So that in itself, and for me, when it comes to those two headliners, when we talk about Nikki Bassman and Andre Showtime, I'm looking at what's next.
Yeah.
What's next? Because I think you've reached your ceiling here in the island. What's that? I think now it's time to take this show on the road.
Yeah.
And let's groom some next ones coming through, where maybe Roach, or maybe whoever's coming through. Let's bring it on, because I think as fight fans, as fans itself, we just want to see fights. We just want to see the sport, right? So hopefully, and to know that this year, not just the year, but you see all those clubs coming together. That is something that didn't happen on the norm.
Right. They're working hard to bring it all together.
Working hard. Not only all the clubs, whether it's the mixed martial arts, all the clubs are working hard together to put on these shows. So hats off to everybody involved.
Yeah, definitely. Well, two youngsters claim the Edward Cross long distance race title. Ben Smith and Christian Aben sailed to victory in the 78th annual race that finished off the West End Sailboat Club. These two came out of the channel in St. George. As we know, it's always a struggle to get out of the channel, but they came out of the channel fourth or fifth, but sailed their way to the front. By the time they had reached, I would say, Daly's Bay, they had taken full control of the race and sailed away from the field, and did so in some amazing fashion, just showing that the youngsters on the day knew what they were doing, showing the veterans how to steer that boat in those conditions and get it up to the west and be up on the dock long before anybody else would have gotten their boat near that finish line. We talk about Krista Stwanek, but they won in a time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 1 second. The second place boat was Dale Bringman, 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 7 seconds. So a full 5 minutes and 6 seconds was between first and second.
So when I was researching this, Earl, and I remember the race, and I didn't think much of it at the time, but I'm looking back at it now, of all the sports we've had on the island, I'm probably thinking this was probably the biggest upset in 2022.
One of the biggest, yes.
Not just them winning, but also by the margin.
By the margin, yeah.
I mean, it's surprised. Obviously, I was surprised at them winning, but the margin that they won.
Two young, fit young men with a lot of sailing pedigree, a lot of experience. They both sailed different boats.
The word potential was always in their corner, right?
Yeah. And with the conditions, they sailed the boats like they would sail a fin, and basically just let the boat ride and just trim the sails, and they done a remarkable job. And I know there'll be a lot of people jumping at the bit to get them back.
I just want you to tell me what was the big upset when we get to the end. I'll let you think about it. When we get to the end, tell me what's a bigger upset.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That one stands up. That one stands up. Daniel Phillips.
Yeah.
Daniel Phillips would have ended 2022 ranked 324th in the International Tennis Federation's junior singles ranking. And as we all know, people age out as the new year begins, and he will start this year ranked 205th in the rankings, which is quite remarkable. We've never had a player in the 300s, let alone now the 200s. And we have to see what this year has in store for him. But you have to, again, he's had his trials and tribulations as well. And, he's battled through them. Again, a young man that has had to work extremely hard at his game, to make sure that he can battle his way through all sorts of adversities. I mean, you start talking about you got to go to Dominican Republic, and then you're in Costa Rica, and then you're in El Salvador, and then you're in places where the language barrier is tough enough, let alone you're either playing on clay court or you're playing on hard court. You're playing a guy that is ranked 100 in the world in the juniors, and you're 300, and he's looking to make sure he's got enough points so when he gets into the senior, he makes his way and all that type of stuff. And and a lot of the battles are done with, when I say long distance relationship, because his family's here, he's out there. He's relying on coaches, he's relying on trainers, he's relying on so many other people to help him through with the family support back in Bermuda.
Man, this is such a great story, watching him grow. And I think what he's went through, once again, is that journey, what he went through in the early part of his career. As a young child, all the way up in Spain.
Yeah.
You told him about the language barrier. Okay, well, guess what? Look how much that helps him now.
Yeah.
Especially the language of Spanish. Look how that's how it helps him. You're talking about, right?
Yeah.
But also those conditions, right? You talk about clay. Well, okay, what's being known for, right? I believe he was at Rafael Nadal's academy for a while.
Yeah.
These are the things that that journey. You might think there were trials and tribulations, but those are the things that the building blocks for champions. And I only see great things. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, and that's in any sport is injury is the variable, right? If you're able to spend a test of time with not having major injuries,
right,
you can stand a good chance of being pretty good.
Yeah.
To see him, the youngster Trey Mallory, and even Simons, right?
Yeah.
Really take the stronghold of the number one tennis player on the island prior to 21-22.
Yeah.
It was okay, but now he's the number one tennis player on the island, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad that, like I said, those guys have put in the work. The families have sacrificed.
Right, sacrifice. That's right.
And once again, I'm just glad that they've given the opportunity to showcase. Before we do go, I just want a couple of special mentions. The like of Dage Miners.
Yes.
What he's done in
the
year, man, it's been unbelievable, man.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
He's renaming a lot of those records that we've had standing for a long time. And, we're looking forward to what he can do next weekend.
And also, and this could probably be the last because I know time's getting short, but also we're talking about athletes playing, but I want to go and address what the Referees Association has done with their association over the last calendar year. To increase their numbers and to increase the young referees out there, to see them being recognized, to see our young referees now, AR assistants going to travel throughout the region and to see that happening. I couldn't picture this 5 years ago. I really couldn't picture this. If somebody would have told me, I would have said, right. But I would have never pictured this, right? Because you don't know nobody's dream, but to see it in reality and to see, just to see going, it could. It could get better. It's going to be bigger next year. 2023 is even be a better year than it was 2022. So those are the things that I love to see. And a lot of times we do talk about the players, but remember, without officials, there is no game, right? So,
that's right. Yeah.
And
So true.
compared to any other sport, we do not see the influx of officiating officiating any other sport. So I just think that's something that we should highlight for the year of 21-22.
Thank you very much. Well, Jay, it's been fun looking back. I know we haven't touched on a lot of other sports, but I think we covered enough to give people a good look back at 2022. And what 2023 has in store, who knows? But I know it's going to be a fun, sporty year.
You ain't had an hour.
Yeah. You
That's
got
on-
it true.
That's on you.
That's on me. That's on me. Have a good night, buddy.
Take care, buddy.
Okay.